On this day, in 1892, at about 2 p.m. in the afternoon, a grisly discovery was made alongside the Hemmant Road near Bulimba by railway ganger William Goad. In the undergrowth, partly covered by bushes, the body of a young man was discovered, suffering from horrific head injuries. It was very clear to onlookers that the man had fallen victim to a frenzied attack, during which his head had been beaten to a pulp. When police arrived, they located a bloody tomahawk in the grass near the body, which was immediately identified as the murder weapon, as well as a number of documents strewn about. From these papers, detectives were able to identify the victim as Rudolf Weissmuller or Wismuller, a young German immigrant who had arrived in Brisbane only a week earlier. Finding lodgings at Mule's boarding house in Stanley Street, Weissmuller had last been seen in the company of 17-year-old Frank Horrocks, the son of a highly respected Brisbane public servant. As Horrocks could not be found, police across southeast Queensland were placed on high alert and the manhunt began. On the description of the suspect being received by wire at the Tallabudgera police station near the New South Wales border, Senior Constable Boyle hatched a plan to aid in the search. On the off chance the offender may have headed south to avoid police, Boyle donned plain clothes and set out on the main road in the direction of Brisbane. As the sun dropped low in the sky, Boyle happened across a young traveller heading south and struck up a conversation. As their chat progressed, the suspicion grew stronger that this young traveller was indeed the man they were after. Introducing himself as Senior Constable Boyle, the traveller introduced himself in turn as Frank Davis and agreed happily to accompany Boyle back to the police station where he was held for the night. Still dressed in blood-splattered clothing, Horrocks was questioned by police the next morning, at which time he made a number of bizarre and unprovoked statements, including, "Can they distinguish human blood from other blood?" and "They can hang me if they like, but I am innocent." Arrested for the murder, Horrocks was extradited back to Brisbane to answer for the crime, pulling into Melbourne Street Station amidst a crowd of 150 curious residents keen to spy a glimpse of the supposed killer. During the trial, it was noted that Weissmuller had arrived in Brisbane with a considerable sum of money, whilst Horrocks was said to have none. The two had met at Mill's boarding house, and Weissmuller had struck up a conversation about work in the bush, having discovered Horrocks had worked as a stockman in the recent past. On the promise of a potential job, Horrocks had lured Weissmuller out to Hemmant to supposedly talk to a prospective employer. When out of sight, it was proposed that Horrocks attacked Weissmuller with a newly purchased tomahawk he'd smuggled along on the trip, finally robbing the young German once the foul deed had been done. Frank Horrocks was subsequently found guilty of Weissmuller's murder and was sentenced to death. Unsurprisingly, given his age of 17 years, many in Brisbane protested the decision. However, it was all for naught. At 8 a.m. on the 26th of September, Francis Charles Horrocks was hanged at Bogger Road Jail, amidst continuing public protests outside the prison's walls. Unusually, given the social standing of their family, Horrocks was placed in a polished cedar coffin supplied by his father, instead of the usual pine box reserved for executed prisoners, complete with an inscription reading Francis Charles Horrocks, born 3rd March 1875, died 26 September 1892, at rest. As was the procedure for prisoners executed at Bogger Road, the coffin was conveyed to South Brisbane Cemetery, followed by a number of the public who had been waiting outside the jail, and was interred in Section 6B, reserved for those executed at the prison.